Good evening. I'd like to call to order this business meeting of the Cave Creek Unified School District. Today is Tuesday, April 7th, and it is 6 p.m. Item 2.2, would everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, which will be led by our student leader, Jalen Wage.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Item 2.3, roll call. All members of the board are present. Cabinet members present are Mr. Dolezal, Dr. Hendrickson, Dr. Jensen, and Dr. Pletnick. Item 2.4, formal adoption of the agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any changes?
Yeah, I'd like to pull 4.2.
Hang on. And where would you like?
Just put it after the action, after action consent.
4.2?
Yeah.
All right. Any other changes? Okay. All in favor of the agenda as amended, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Item 2.5, President's Report. Well, since last meeting, we've had testing and spring break, but somewhere in there, I had the opportunity to attend Sonoran Trails boys and girls basketball team, and we have some athletes that work really hard. That's it.
I did have the opportunity to attend the Employee of the Month breakfast at the summit, so congratulations to those who also attended, and thank you for your service and support of the district. And it was a good time.
Anybody else?
I didn't have anything this month.
I also attended the Employee of the Month breakfast and also got to see Sonoran Trails musical of the Addams Family, which I enjoyed, and just trying to make sure my kids eat breakfast for all their testing this week.
Oh, the testing. I had the privilege of going to the Sonoran Trails basketball game, seeing both boys and girls compete. Always fun to watch. Got to do the Cactus Shadows coffee with the superintendent. Always nice to listen to parents, what they have to say. Had our fair share of exec sessions. And then selfishly got to attend the Cactus Shadows cheer banquet and see our amazing athletes take away some awards for their efforts this year.
Awesome. Okay, item 2.7, Superintendent's Report.
President Greer, members of the board, we had several talented artists from our schools that were honored at the Sonoran Arts League Celebration of the Arts on Thursday, March 26th at the Fine Arts Center. All schools are represented by fabulous artists. It was a wonderful night of artistic appreciation and celebration. Congratulations to Cactus Shadows High School baseball assistant coach Paul Konerko for being inducted into the Cactus League Hall of Fame. We appreciate all he's done to support our student athletes. Congratulations to Karen Dolezal, Cactus Shadows music teacher, for receiving the Arizona Family Silver Apple Award. This is a student-nominated award, and Channel 3 arrived at Cactus Shadows on Tuesday, March 31st, to present her with the award. It is National Assistant Principals Week, and I'd like to thank our hardworking assistant principals, R.J. Morgan, Rob Gilmore, Jason Schnee, and Jen Reyes, for everything they do to support our principals, teachers, and students. And then I would like to congratulate and appreciate our track coaches who worked extremely hard and hosted our first AIA qualifier track meet in the last 5 years. So last Thursday was an absolutely wonderful day at Falcon Stadium. Both of our teams actually placed second in that qualifying track meet. Speaking of track, although she is much more than just a track athlete, it was a thrill to watch her anchor the 4x100 team Thursday, and how she took the baton about 10 meters behind the leader, ran the leader down, and brought home the win by what looked like to me by over 10 meters. It was a thrill to watch her. It is my pleasure to introduce our student leader on the dais with me this evening from Cactus Shadows High School, Jalen Wage.
Looking back on my 4 years at Cactus Shadows, the most special moments to me have included sports. Since freshman year, I've competed in 4 different sports: lettering and tackle football, soccer, and track. Even if they were short-lived careers like frosh volleyball and being the kicker for football, playing sports for this school has given me so many positive memories and experiences. For example, I was chosen to be a captain in both soccer and track, and being in those two different environments taught me so much about leadership and camaraderie. Additionally, I owe it all to the track and field program for where I am today. Next year, I will be running Division I track at Southern Utah University on scholarship, and that is largely because of the passion for the sport that being a part of this team helped me develop. Cactus Shadows and its athletics will always have a special place in my heart, and I'm so grateful that I will forever have these experiences to look back on and cherish.
And that concludes my superintendent report.
Awesome. All right. Item 3.1, our Students of the Month. It is with great pride that we gather to celebrate our exceptional Students of the Month. Each month, we recognize students who embody our district's core values: perseverance, leadership, compassion, and excellence. Their achievements are the result of a strong support system, parents, teachers, and the community working together. To our honorees, congratulations. You are the best of Cave Creek Unified, and we look forward to your future contributions to the world. And so now I would like to ask my fellow board members to step down, and we will introduce our Students of the Month. All righty. Our first student is from Black Mountain, Brigger Garten. Yes, come on up. Congratulations. Just when I call your name, come up so we can congratulate you. Sorry about that. From Desert Willow, Maya Dunmore. Congratulations, Maya. From Horseshoe Trails, Lila Schotten. Congratulations, Lila. From Sonoran Trails, Cambry Pearson. From Cactus Shadows, Rayleigh Sivers. Congratulations. Also from Cactus Shadows is Bella Barney Heitzman. However, she is unable to attend, but congratulations to Bella. And congratulations to our Student Leader of the Month, Jalen Wage. Please come down here. And now, if you'd like to take a photo, this is your opportunity. We will take a 5-minute break, so if you want to leave, this might be the opportunity. Item 3.2, property presentation. Presented by Mr. Dolezal.
President Greer, members of the board, I'd like to call up Representatives Beth Jo from ROI to give a quick public presentation on their broker opinion of value regarding Desert Sun Academy property.
Thank you. I'm Beth Jo Zeitzer with ROI Properties, and here tonight to talk a little bit about Desert Sun and our valuation of this property. I'm pleased to report that we did take a look at the property in a couple of different ways. If the property can be sold to an owner-occupant, on an as-is basis, and they will actually use the site in its current, configuration or with its current improvements and slight redevelopment, we will garner much higher pricing. So we'll talk through that. That likely is in closer to the $6 million range, versus if the property is sold on a land basis, then it's a redevelopment site, and then we're looking at land-only valuation and much lower valuation, closer to the $2 million range. But let's start with taking a look at the second page, which is our executive summary. Thank you. And what we know about this site is that it is 16 acres, so that's about 703,000 square feet as a site. And we know that it has about 69,000 square feet of improvements, which were built in 2000. So overall, the property is certainly a wonderful, the improvements are a beautiful configuration at the time that it was built, but that use is no longer something that is, in its current use is of no additional use at this time. So looking at alternative uses, what we have seen is that many times a lot of the school sites, whether they're district school sites or charter school sites, are selling to churches or other types of community uses. And so the sales comparison approach that we have, which is on the next page, page 3, a little difficult to read, but I'll give you the high level here. We have 2 active comps, so these are comparable sales, in this instance comparable listings for religious facilities, and what we're seeing is that these do tend to sell for much higher levels. These are properties that are listed between $249 a square foot to $427 a square foot. Thank you. That's great. The properties that have sold, and typically these are for churches and or schools, so worship sites or schools, so the Smiles for Special Needs is a campus site for neurodivergent individuals, both adults as well as children, and then the rest of these are religious sites as well. And the sites range in value that have sold range in value from $53 a square foot to $185 a square foot. Again, the per square foot basis is the metric that we would typically look at in valuing commercially improved properties. So many of these comparable sales, we've taken a look at the analysis, and you can see if we scroll down on this page that we kind of analyze the various comparable sales and then reconcile the values. And a kind of very high-level look after reconciling the values indicates that the value on an improved basis would be in the 5.8 to 6.5 range. So 5.8 million to 6.5. That would be about $85 to $95 a square foot. And the pricing, typically where we see the valuation differential is on larger buildings. We're going to be looking at a smaller per square foot pricing. And so that's what we can see in the valuation chart above. And the next valuation that we undertook is looking at the property on a land sale basis. So this is page 5. And on a land basis, there are a number of recent sales and or properties that are listed that do provide us with some pricing guidance. So typically, in looking at land value, we're going to be looking at per acre values, unless we're looking at more of a dense product. In this instance, we know that the community will not want to embrace a more dense project. The property is zoned, base zoning of R143, so one home per acre, and it will likely stay that way. We know that there would be neighborhood opposition for more dense zoning. So the value from on a per acre basis, if we take a look and we reconcile the comps, as you can see here above, we're looking at from 68,000 an acre all the way to 192,000 an acre. And reconciled as appropriate for this site, we would likely be at 165,000 to 185,000 an acre, which would take the site to 2.6 to $3 million. I did want to mention one recent comp that I was recently asked about, and that is the former Foothills Academy. And that is a site that was actually just listed, put on the market, but it does not have pricing on it at this time. It was acquired by Candeo. I know that there is, I believe, some interest from one of the autistic schools, one of the neurodivergent schools, but it has not sold, and the property was just listed, and it is unpriced. So I do have a call into the broker on that property that just listed it, and I can certainly report back, and that information will be shared with you. But know that it is a 29,000 square foot facility. It was initially acquired as a 19,000 square foot facility, but then it was expanded to 29,000 square feet. And it's just under 6 acres. And it was purchased by Candeo in 2020 at $3 million, and then improved pretty substantially from there. But I'll have more to report on that. That's certainly a sale that we will want to keep track of, as it does provide some guidance from school sale perspective. But this gives you kind of a high-level overview. I know we have more detailed comparable sales as well as more detailed analysis here, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. Again, value is dependent upon how the site is used and the specific purchaser for the property, if they can use it as is and on an improved basis for some type of community use, religious use, or other use, versus having to redevelop the site, tear down the facilities, the buildings on site, and then use it for building purposes, home sales. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item 3.3, elementary, middle, and high school breakfast and lunch prices for 2026-27. Presented by Dr. Plotnick and Mrs. Quinn.
Good evening, President Greer, board members, and cabinet. I'm here tonight to present a slight increase to the breakfast and lunch prices at our schools. I routinely evaluate prices to determine if we need an increase. And so I have determined that next year we will need to do an increase. Mainly this is due to food costs go up. The last time we had a lunch increase was 2020, and so you can imagine how much food has increased since 2020. We have not increased breakfast since I've been here. So that's been a long time. So I am proposing that. But due mainly to food increase, also there's new regulations for USDA. House Bill 2164 is the one that was introduced to eliminate 11 additives to food. So as you can imagine, manufacturers, when they have to comply with USDA or ADE, that increases their costs for manufacturing, and therefore they pass that on to the customer. So that is the second one. House Bill 2164, Frito-Lay has done a really good job. All of their chips that we buy currently now, even though the bill is not into effect yet, are all the dyes have been taken out. So it's colored with turmeric and paprika and different seasoning. So the kids didn't even notice. They still just buy those items. So I think it's a good thing, but it does increase our costs. And believe it or not, the kids love chicken nuggets, but they are getting, they want more healthier items, and healthier items cost more. Grilled chicken costs more than just breaded chicken pressed and formed. And so last week, we started a new line. It's a protein Mediterranean kava inspired line. And so if you haven't been able to see it, I invite you to come over there and see it. It's gaining popularity, but there's items on there that are a little bit more expensive, like your feta cheeses and your grilled chicken and hummus, stuff like that, tzatziki, stuff like that. So, so I'm here tonight to propose a slight increase. Our increases would be elementary would be $1.50, middle school $1.75, high school $2.25 for breakfast, and then lunch as elementary would go to $3, middle school to $3.50, and high school to $3.75. And I personally think that those are all really good deals because you really can't even go to Taco Bell for those prices. So, and we give high quality lunches to the kids and breakfast. So. That is what I'm proposing for us to stay financially responsible. So thank you. Do you have any questions?
Do we know what our surrounding districts are charging for?
So our surrounding districts, let's just say for lunch.
Yeah.
Lunch, Scottsdale does a tiered effect. So her the more expensive items like orange chicken, she's got $3.95, $4.50, and $4.95 at the high school. Elementary is $3.95, and middle school she does the tiering again at $3.95, $4.50, and $4.95. So for elementary, we're 95 cents under what I'm proposing. Paradise Valley is exactly what we are right now, but I believe at this time she is proposing, she's going to propose an increase also, but currently she is, and I say she, the director, $2.50, $2.70, or $2.75, and $3 for lunch. She's exactly the same. And then Deer Valley, who is our other neighboring district, for lunch, elementary is $3.10, middle school is $3.10, so they keep both of them the same. They have a lot of K through 8s.
K-8, yeah.
So, and then high school is $3.75, so we would be the same as Deer Valley for high school. So that's kind of how we will fare with our 3 districts that are surrounding us.
Do we have a lot of students that participate in breakfast?
Breakfast is our lowest participating meal program. That's mainly due to, I believe, we have more stay-at-home moms. Kids don't come to school for breakfast. They get breakfast at home. A lot of the school districts that have higher percentages, the kids may not necessarily get that at home, so they come to school for the meal. Mm-hmm. So, but we, that is our lower participating out of lunch.
Yeah.
So.
I just want to acknowledge you for your creativity in the menu. As a health nut myself, I think kids perform better when they eat better, and I just love that you brought in the kava bowls and all the fun things that you've done. So thank you for your diligence and that and your creativity and taking such good care of our kids.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
And Member Ulmer, just to back up, not about our elementary, middle, or high school breakfast and lunch program, but I would like to give appreciation and a shout out because she's also started getting CCUSD out into the community and doing lunch events and different things around. So she is certainly a wonderful ambassador in getting us out in a positive light in the community. So I wanted just to acknowledge that while you were there.
Thank you. All right.
Well, thank you for all you do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions?
That was pretty straightforward.
Awesome. Thank you. Item 3.4, monthly financial update, presented by Dr. Pletnick.
Good evening, President Greer, members of the Governing Board. This month, it will focus on enrollment once again. We're moving into the season, though, where next month we'll have our budget revision. Then we will have our FY27 budget in June. So we'll have a little bit more financial information in the upcoming months. But again, focus is going to be on that enrollment. So as you can see, elementary enrollment, not much movement since the last month in our board report. We're at a total of 1323, so we are down 3 students. Same that we could look at very little movement at our secondary level as well as online and DSA. So you can see just a couple of students here and there at each one of those levels. And again, this is a chart that you see every month at this point, and that's our comparison to where we are this year versus where we were 1 year ago. You could see, again, 6 students difference total between now and the last board report, but we are significantly down from the previous year. All right, so our withdrawals for this month, you can see we had 20 of them, but you can see a good majority of them, just under half of them, are out-of-state movement. So people who have moved out of state or even out of the country in this report. So that is where we are seeing those withdrawals, and we do have again, second highest would be that online withdrawal piece. And now our new enrollments. So 15 new enrollments, and on that one, 8 of them were from other Arizona public schools. And then here it is again, out-of-state movement. We do see 4 additional students from out of state. And our per site withdrawals and enrollments. And do you have any questions with that slide?
Questions?
Are we looking at, so when we're looking at online, is that online, they're going to a different online school, not AOE?
So when I looked at this report, that would be like ASU digital prep, yeah, not AOE. But we did, if you do look at those charts, we did have some movement, and going back to it, our AOE actually grew by 1 student from last report.
Yep.
So we do have some of that movement. If you look back in reports, we do have some like Cactus Shadows going to our AOE. And then if we do compare this number from last year, if memory serves me correct, we were in the 20s for AOE, and now we're pushing 40 this year.
Yeah, no, we're gaining traction. I'm just wondering
Yeah.
how we continue to tighten that
Yeah.
up, because if we offer a competitive online, which we do, how do we make sure we optimize that, we don't lose that in comparison? And then 2, when you look at coming in from other schools, so is that a direct come in, meaning they're just transferring from another school, or is that because, does that have anything to do with like the alternative side of things where they're, going somewhere else, but then they exhaust their funds and then come back? Or is that only like, there's some different metrics that come into where they're coming from in public. So do we know what those contributors are?
So other public schools, you're saying? If I looked at this report, and it's pretty clear, it's movement from other areas.
They're just moving
around Phoenix. They're moving.
Okay.
Yes.
Nothing close by. It's all
No.
distance proximity.
If I look at the high school level, there were a few from neighboring districts. There were 3 students from neighboring districts. But if
Okay.
I look at a majority of it, it was coming from elsewhere.
Semi-call it out of state.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
Actually moved houses.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I mean, luckily we kind of, I wouldn't say we're getting but we're getting attraction because we're getting some people to come back in. If we weren't, we would be seeing some big deficit in number count. So we're
I mean, if you look at our total count from, again,
it looks good here.
we're holding steady, but again, if you're looking at this time of the school year, we're pushing April testing season.
Yep.
So you're going to see a lot of that movement, at the beginning of the school year, usually over winter break. Testing season, right before testing season, oftentimes, you look at certain charter schools who like to move some of their enrollment out so that they don't count for test scores.
Correct.
So that often is a period that you do see a little bit of movement. So it doesn't surprise me that we're kind of level at this point.
And do we track that?
Yeah, every month we have our enrollment reports, so I can see the trends.
I'm looking at that. I'm just saying, do we track that type of trend behavior? Meaning, like, hey, are certain, because charter is not really on here. I mean, everybody makes a big claim about charter. Most of everything I see is like homeschool, out of state, and AZ public.
And if you're talking about tracking, if you look at the ADE reports and the monthly reports, charter schools are dropping overall in enrollment throughout the state of Arizona at a very similar rate to public schools. So that is a very valid point of you're not seeing as many charters, and Beth Jo just presented that to us, that you're actually seeing charter schools putting properties up for sale at this point. So there is that shift, and you are seeing enrollment on both, Arizona public schools and public charter schools enrollment drops.
Right, and it seems like our elementary stays pretty consistently flat for the most part. Where we see our biggest pain point is middle school, high school.
I would say, again, you have a larger population of students, so I would honestly, if I take our enrollment from the beginning of the year, I take our 40-day count, our 100-day count, all of those, kind of the litmus tests for it, I would break that more down to percentage, because if you only have a school of 500 and you lose 5 students versus, losing 6 students, 7 students at a school of 1,000, it's going to be a different percentage. So
yeah, the bigger schools are going to have
Yeah.
a lower percentage, meaning they're going to
correct. So that's why I think percentage would be something that I can break down and provide to you of what percentage from each of those various benchmark points that
Okay.
we've lost.
Yeah, that would be interesting, but I think it's just the total numbers, because the percentage, to your point, is skewed. It actually is not favorable if you put percentage up; it'll be bigger, because it's like churn in business.
And you're also looking at when we're looking at our enrollment, member more throughout, you are looking at a difference between grade levels. There is a difference between the fluctuation. Even if we look at the past 3 to 4 years and tracking that trend, you are seeing a little kick in first grade. So kinder's down, and kinder is well below. Over the past 3 years at least, we have seen an increase in percentage of loss at the kindergarten level of just new cohorts coming in. But you've also seen this weird trend where first grade we see this slight uptick. Not a huge uptick, but there's a slight uptick. Right. And then your elementaries typically through that 3, 4, 5, you're looking at a lower percentage of loss that we've had. And then those transition years, now it would be 6th grade, 9th grade, that we do see an uptick. The one, again, bucked a trend this year, our 8th grade coming into 9th grade at Cactus Shadows. We did not see that typical loss that we have over the past few years. So that's why it again, we've talked about it, could be equated to like our athletics and students coming in for those programs, and that prevents it. So there are pieces we could put in place, certainly, that those variables could be impacting the loss at the secondary level.
Right. I'm just trying. Yeah, the biggest thing to this is our livelihood right now. So understanding how we can better operate within the data that we're given and figure out where we can shore up where we're leaking, I think is like the critical strategy that we've yet to really land on.
I mean, we are tracking at this point. We're tracking those trends, and we have brought forth those trends, and again, the trends that I base my data on for budgeting is all based upon those trends. So it's something that cabinet is aware of, and it's something that I think we certainly do have to base our decisions on moving forward.
Yeah, well, I get the decisioning. The next piece that seems to be missing in the equation is the action. You have the data, you do the budget, which I get that part. But the other part is, how do we make it more undeniable for people to leave? What are those things that we're missing that creates that decision making? You can't fix out of state, but I can fix online. I can fix AZ. I can fix charter. So how do I attack those?
And certainly, I think there are some items that we have put in place. Again, expanding that AOE piece where we moved into DSA, that part is expanded. We look at some of our outplaced students. We brought them back to DSA, so we've expanded that program, paying less tuition out there. So I think it's looking at, yes, where are we losing enrollment, but also from a budgeting standpoint, where are we leaking and filling those holes, meaning missed opportunities, whether, again, it be that online piece or whether it be extra costs we're paying where we don't need to be paying. Right. Certainly there are inefficiencies within the system. It seems like every time I peel back a layer of the onion, there's just something else there. But slowly, I think we're beginning to make progress in fixing some of those items. We look at various items across the district. We look at our rental rates. And again, we look at 2014, where the Auditor General did a performance audit on CCUSD. And that was one of the two major findings from the Auditor General back in 2014. The other thing was closing properties that we're not using. We're looking at closing properties we're not using. So we're talking 12 years back, and it seems like we're playing a little bit of catch up here from performance findings that were from over a decade ago.
Right. You think those correlate to enrollment?
I think anything can correlate to enrollment. It's based upon people's values. It's just like, and education has become more of a business. What do people value? What do people want? And you have to find that in your customer base. So that's where I think, with any data we receive, whether it be climate survey data, whether it be enrollment, we have to use that to understand that base.
Okay.
Sorry, we just had a one-on-one.
That's all right. It was informative. Any other questions? Okay, item 3.5, the 2026-27 Employee Medical Insurance Benefits Presentation. Dr. Hendrickson, you're up.
Good evening, President Greer, members of the Governing Board. We're here tonight to present our upcoming employee benefits packages that we will be seeking approval later on this evening. Every year, as we get new renewals, as we make adjustments to our plans, we bring it back to the board for that approval process. So just as a reminder, kind of the plans that we do offer, our major medical is offered through ASBATE. They're our medical provider that does the billing, that does gets the plans in place, and so they're kind of our go-to there. And so they provide that major medical and vision. Last year, we made a move to Unum to be able to provide higher care costs for the dental for our employees, and then we have several supplemental plans that employees can buy into, and so there's some just a few of them up there: basic life, short-term disability, supplemental accident, things like that. So, but tonight we're going to be focusing more on that major medical, because that is what is the cost to the district. So again, this year we're seeing an increase to our costs, and that is the norm across all school districts, and so. Those costs increase because obviously there's increased medical needs, there's increased just inflation costs, things like that. When our costs last year went up 6.7%, and so that was a cost that we took over as a district, that extended cost that we absorbed within our budget. This year we're looking at a 5.9% increase. And you can look at that and go, oh man, we're going up almost 6%. But when our friends in neighboring districts are going up 15, 16, 17%, I was very happy to see that we were only going up almost 6%. So some of the, I think I kind of skipped it back there a little bit, Juan. some of those drivers of healthcare costs, we talk about increased utilization. So what we're seeing trend-wise is post-COVID, people are going back to using their medical. They're finding a need for it. They're seeking treatment when they may have not. Specialty drugs is going to be the highest area where we look at our monthly expenditures and for our premiums. It's our high-cost specialty drugs that are really driving the cost for us. And we talked about that, a little bit of inflation. And then we are in a pool, so what that means is that it helps control our costs because our claims are spread out, not just our own district, but a district made up of 40 plus different districts within this pool. So that helps retain our costs there a little bit as well. So our proposal tonight is what we've done this past year is we have covered employee benefits at the HDHPA plan. So that's traditionally what we've been. So that's $660 a month. So if we were to continue to cover $660 a month, that would be a $65 a month employee cost for our banner. That's going to be our highest used plan. So that would be an increase of $40 a month for our employees. The HTHPA plan, again, that's at our $660. That does have an increase of $39, so that would be an increase of $39 for our employees. And then the HDHPC plan, that would be our zero cost to our employees, so zero cost there. It does have an HSA contribution of $240. However, that is down from $660 the previous year. So again, how we offset the cost from currently $660 base, it's going up to $699, is either absorbing it in the budget or passing it along to our employees. And so with our current budget constraints and our needs, it would be our recommendation that we pass those increases on to our employees at that point. If we're looking at an alternative route, if we're looking at ways that we can increase or decrease expenditures, we could lower it to the $640 cost. So that would be the HTHPC plan. So that is the lowest cost plan. If we funded it at $640, it would still be free to our employees. However, we would not be able to make those contributions to their HSA because that difference between the $660 and $640 goes away. And then you see the HDHPA plan going up to $59 and then $85 for the bronze plan there. Slight increases to our Unum. We have two dental plans, a Unum high dental plan and a Unum low dental plan. That's just your out-of-pocket deductible, number of cleanings, things like that. So a slight increase to those things there. Despite these increases, some steps that we are currently actively taking to make sure that we are providing the best benefit to our employees, making sure that we are getting the best costs, that we are finding and maximizing our savings, things like that, is we have partnered with Valley Schools Management Group, and so they are, we're working with them through the end of this year to simply do an audit of our claims and our expenditures, things like that, to make sure that we're not missing out on anything, missing out on the drug rebates as well, to making sure that we are having plans that are utilized, that are providing what our employees need based on the claim. So that's a big thing that we're doing to try to make sure, again, are we getting the right product, the right pricing. We're always looking at the market out there. I get emails every week from different companies that are looking to bring in their products, things like that. And so that's one of the things that we're always looking and seeing what's available. Again, the goal is how do we get the same or a better product to our employees, but at the same or a lower cost. And so that's something that we're always reviewing. We do work with ASBATE to look at plan designs. Do we need to change plan designs? Is there different structures for it? Is there a rationale to go to a self-funded plan? There's a risk to that, but then allows you to have more flexibility with the plans that you use. But really the big thing is how do we educate our employees? And so we've spent some time this past year making sure that we advertise, for instance, we have Teladoc. That's no cost to our employees depending on the plan that you're going on. That's going to be the cheapest plan, the cheapest or lowest medical claim cost to us. They have a new feature, Teladoc 360, so you can now have a primary care physician through Teladoc, that is your primary care person. And then also using the nurse hotline, which directs people to the right care at that time. So instead of going to the ER, can that be a teledoc visit? Can that be an urgent care visit? Again, lowering our claims as well. And so that's really where one of the focuses in the work that I'm beginning with ASBATE now as we move into the summer is how do we increase that education with our staff to make sure that they're using using the medical care to their maximum benefit, but also not having higher claims for themselves, higher out of pocket through that education process there. So again, we will ask for your approval later on this evening. And with that, I'll turn it over to any questions.
Can you go back to the one that shows if we covered everything? Do we know how many, thank you, are on, take advantage? Like, what's the majority of employees taking the A, or do we have people on the high deductible HSA plan?
Yeah, good question. So currently we have 375 benefits eligible employees that work more than 30 hours a week. So about 77% of them are on our plan. So that's roughly 289. Of that, we have 59 people on the C plan, 64 people on the A plan, 154 on the bronze plan, so that's the majority take that classic PPO. And then we have 12 people that are grandfathered into a silver plan. I don't have those rates up here because no one can enroll in that. It's people that are currently in it that they want that higher premium coverage there. So, but part of the education that we do with that as well is, we have individuals who have been on the A plan but don't get anywhere close to their out-of-pocket or their deductible, and they're missing out on that HSA contribution if they were on the C plan. And so that's one of the things that ASBATE works with our employees during that re-enrollment process, is looking at their claims from the last year and saying, hey, you just left $660 on the table that could have been into your HSA account because you didn't use your medical usage at all or very minimally, things like that.
When you say other districts went up north of 15%, are they on the are equivalent plans or different plans? Because,
Yeah, so some of them, it depends on their provider. Some of them are self-funded plans, and so they're making adjustments to, they can control dependent care and dependent coverage, things like that. So that's where they're seeing that. ASBATE has just done a really good job of working with the pharmacy, getting those pharmacy rebates. Those pharmacy rebates come back into lowering our premium costs. So they're just kind of following a different model and more predictive model, but then also making sure that we have wellness practices in place, whether it be through the free screenings that we offer throughout the year, whether it be through the education and the nurse hotline, things like that. So it's a matter of how they've been managing it compared to other districts using, whether it be United through Kairos or Blue Cross, things like that.
Are most of the districts part of some type of buying group like ASBATE?
I don't have stats on it. I know a lot of the larger districts go to a self-funded plan, so they're going to be with a company like ASBATE, but they'll be self-funded, so they're not in the pool. Majority of districts are in some sort of pool plan, and there's a couple big competitors out there. But yeah, I know ASBATE is expanding. They're growing. I want to say when we met with them a couple weeks ago, they've just brought on another 20 districts. So that's a benefit to us as that pool continues to get bigger.
Can we look at the plan you're recommending as well?
Yes, that one right there.
Yeah, perfect. And this is monthly, not per paycheck?
Correct, monthly.
And was that the same for dental, or is that per pay period?
Yeah, it's per pay period as well.
Okay.
And so it's only over, I want to say they can elect 21 pays, so it doesn't hit every single, you can do 21 or 26 pays. It doesn't come out of each one of them. It starts mid-August, and then by, I want to say mid-May is when they paid their full premium portions.
Okay.
and you're saying majority of people take the bronze?
The bronze plan, correct.
And so that's going to increase this year.
Correct.
$65.
Yep.
And then when you show the zero line, are you just taking out the current contribution? How did you walk me through the math really quick? So
The
we go
zero
65,
line?
39, yeah. So we go 65, 39, and then we go zero contribution on the other plan.
So the HBC, so that plan is a $640 a month.
Yep.
If we're funding at $660, that extra $20 a month goes into the HSA. So it becomes free for the employee, and then they get that difference of 660 to 640 in an HSA.
Okay.
So that's their annual contribution.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Yep.
so neutral is if it's $300,000 a year if you net zeroed banner bronze. Is that the essential?
Sorry, say that again.
So if you go back to the nastier one, I think it is. Yeah,
Yep.
that one. So if you go back to that, that's basically neutral. So 85, that's $300,000 a year. It's $25,000 a month, basically. If I did my math correct there.
It comes out to about $69,000 annually a year increased cost or savings to the district.
No, I'm just looking at total cost. Not.
Oh, yeah.
I just took the 85 and multiplied it by your 289.
Okay.
So I got $300,000 is what the actual expense is right now, right? Is that fair?
The expense difference, so you're doing the 85, so the employee's paying that 85, not the district.
Correct. What's the district's contribution on that 85?
That they would be paying 640.
Okay, so the district's paying 640.
Yep.
The employee pays 85.
Correct.
It's an additional expense of about $300,000 a year if you covered the 85. I'm just trying to walk into the math.
Oh, gotcha. I see
Yeah,
what you're
yeah,
saying.
yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So if you want to cover that full amount of the difference, yeah.
Now, do
And we
any
did that last year, right? Was that-
Correct.
Correct. Yeah, so we covered $660 this year, which covered all the increases from last year.
Right. But I'm just saying there's got to be a balancing act between riffing and doing all the things that we do. There's got to be some give back somewhere.
Well, and I think that's where, as a board, looking at where we would land with our cost savings, with our carry forward, things like that. Do we absorb the cost? I would say if we kept it at, I'm trying to think of the math I have here. If you funded it at $699, I think it's a difference of about $135,000 a year. So $699 is what the HTPA plan is. And so that would keep the increase to the bronze plan, or keep it at only $25 a month. That's what they're currently paying. So if we want to not touch what the bronze plan is, keep the A as a free plan, and keep the C as a free plan as well, it's about $135,000 more a year to the district to do that. Again, this is based off of current number of employees.
Yep.
With enrollment going down, employees going down, that would be a lower number.
Yeah, the number's going to
Yeah.
wash.
Correct.
Correct. So,
Then when student enrollment, it would wash, kind of
Correct.
thing. So
I mean, it's somewhere there's got to be some give and take. We can't just keep penalizing. And I know we're chasing that almighty dollar, but sooner or later we got to go back to the principal.
Well, and that's why we wanted to maintain at least the level that we've done this year. So that's at that $660.
are there, well, this info's not in here, and sorry I didn't ask you before, people that take advantage, like that add their whole family, and did those premiums go up as well?
yeah, so proportionally, all those premiums will go up. There's very few that go through. Do their family through us. One of the things, I believe it's coming up later tonight, is we met with another medical group called Apollo, and what they do is they're a broker that works with dependents to help them find plan coverage on the market. And so we've worked with them. They worked with a couple different districts in the valley, but then across the country, and I've contacted those districts to say, are your dependent coverages, are they getting the coverage they need at a lower cost than you can offer as a district? And they're finding that they are. That also lowers our liability as a district, because a lot of times it's going to be your dependents that are increasing your claims and whatnot. So that's one of the things that we're going to be hopefully rolling out to give a better plan, because it is more expensive to add your family to those plans.
Any other questions?
And just so I'm clear on the legal side of this, if you do this for one, you do it for all, period. There's no different band levels based on...
Yeah, so with non-discrimination rules with ACA, there's certain things you can and can't do. So you can't offer a higher plan to certain groups that you don't offer to other groups. In doing some quick research, there is a possibility that you can charge premiums at a different rates as long as it's still affordable. So you could have higher paid employees paying a higher premium than lower paid employees paying a premium. So that is something I'd have to do a little bit more research on to make sure we're following those IRS rules. But again, I think the question comes down to is what is the benefit of that, and what's the adverse risk of doing that? So,
Right, same point. What's the risk of increase? What's the risk of high deductibles? We're again, bouncing back and forth.
yep.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Item 4, action consent. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, item 4.2, the human resources item.
All right. Well, I just wanted to pull
Well,
that.
Dr. Hendrickson, would you make a motion?
Oh, make a motion, yeah, please.
You.
President Greer, members of the governing board, I motion that the board approve 4.2 human resource items as presented.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay,
Okay.
now you're up.
So, basically, I just wanted to pull this because the elephant in the room is the RIFs that are on there. A couple things just to mention about that. It sucks. This is something that we've had to do before, and not as much as we haven't done it in a while, but we have done it before. I was actually at Desert Willow in 2009 when we had to go through this, and all the employees were sitting there thinking, "Is it me? Is it going to be me?" Then they come out, and nobody's ever going to be happy about this. The people, obviously, that don't get RIFs would be a little bit happier than those that do. However, there was always that thing about, well, why did this person get RIFed and not this person? It happened in 2009. Everybody thought the same things then. Well, why was this person let go? They're awesome. Why is this person still here? Not so much. But I just wanted to just kind of comment on it and just say that nobody is happy about this. If it was 12 other people, it would be, a similar thing. So just wanted to comment on that, say that my heart goes out to the folks that are dealing with this, and that's everybody. That's the principals. That's the people that have to make these decisions. But I did want to ask where we're standing on how much that we have to cut now. How much is this helping us with these current risks? Where are we at, and where do we got to go?
Yes, thank you, Member Fortney and Governing Board, and thank you for those comments, because I agree this is never fun. It's never fun to have to communicate to an employee that they're going to be losing their position. One of the things that we're doing to make sure that we're taking care of them is I already have meetings set up the rest of this week with groups or individual employees being affected to ask questions, to understand the process. But also as we get additional resignations that come in, I got one about an hour ago before I came in here, that now opens up a spot to go back to the RIF and say, okay, where can we have people meet with those principals to see if they're a right fit? So we will continue to do that as we get resignations there. So I will have Dr. Pletnick go over the numbers, but I want to say with the 14 RIFs and then the additional, I want to say 40 positions of just resignations that have come through. So we didn't need to, that's why we needed only RIF, so few positions that have already been cut, positions that are going to be cut at the district level. Overall, Dr. Pletnick was working on those numbers earlier today, so I'm going to catch my breath and turn it over to him.
Member Fortney, the lists have been turned over to me of resignations as well as the RIFs, and that's at all levels. Or elimination of positions at the various levels, and again, just the initial work that I've done straight out of M&O. If we look at it, we're looking at right now about a $2.7 million savings On top of that, there is an amount, if you remember, for the last 3 years, we've been paying about $365,000 out to employees from that 1 year stipend. So that expires as well. So we will not be on the hook for the $365,000 to pay out because it will be the 3 years will be over. So if we add those together, we're a little bit above $3 million, and that is just in M&O. There are also other reductions if grant positions are, again, as we look at all positions and as we look at our grant funding, we're again expecting a reduction in all of our grant funding. So there are positions within grant funding that are impacted. There are also positions within classroom site fund that we've been able to reduce, as well as instructional improvement funds. So those different buckets, when we add them up, I would have to tell, I believe it's somewhere between about, well, I should say, give me one moment. I don't want to miss. About 3.8 million. So now remember when we spoke 3.8, if we used all of our budgeted M&O this year, it would be 3.8 million that we would need to cut. I'm happy to say at this point, we have put our cost savings hats on, as well as, trying to ensure we're not spending out of that M&O bucket. We're about $3.45 million out of, or I'm sorry, 3.4, 28, $28.34 million out of our M&O bucket that we have spent. Now, there are expenditures that will be coming up that we know about. So will it stay there? No, but in the past 3 or 4 months, our spending has stayed between that, 28.2, 28.35 area. So I'm happy to say it's leveling out. We're closing our purchase orders early this year, so all the timelines have been moved up. So all the departments and schools are aware. Out-of-state orders will be ending here very, very shortly. Then I believe it's April 23rd is the last date for our in-state. So at that point, by the end of the month, we'll get even a little bit better of an idea of where we are with those spendings.
So on that number, you said we gained back, what, $365K next year?
We aren't spending 365. So apparently, again, this predates me, but there was approximately $1 million a few years back for one-time funding, and the decision in IBN was to split that between 3 years. So that $1 million goes into the budget, it goes into the capacity, and each year 3.65 of our capacity would be going towards that one-time payment. So now we're not committed to making that $365,000 payment next year. It's not like we just send it off into a separate account. It just sat in our M&O for the
Yeah, it was
past
just
3
money
years.
sitting there.
Yeah.
It was from ESSER funds, right? It was the ESSER funds from COVID.
No?
That's
Not that one?
one-time state aid. It was.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
It gave that.
If I remember right, many of the districts decided to give theirs all in one chunk that given year, and during IBN, we discussed dividing it up to encourage people to stay for a little bit longer. And I think it came from the state, actually, not federal government, so that's.
Yeah, it was.
Right, one-time state
It's
funds.
state money.
Any other questions?
Maybe if somebody could just speak on the rentals facility coordinator that's on there, what that job will all entail.
That is actually, and right now, we don't have the capacity to rent our facilities. Right now, a lot of people are going above and beyond what their function should be. Ms. Serino has been helping, letting some renters in at the high school, or whether it be the track. And so right now, we do not have facility staff to be able to effectively open and close our facilities. We were able to have a former employee come back part-time to help us at nights here and there. But in years past, there were 3 employees who would open and close at night, and 2 of them retired. So the other one is asked once in a while to open and close. So this position would be in charge of rentals. It would be paid out of that civic fund where, as we gain in rentals, it's to pay for this position so we can have somebody that is in charge of opening, closing facilities, so we don't leave our scoreboards on, we don't leave our lights on, people aren't using our facilities when they shouldn't be, that they can keep track of all of the requests to rent, as well as the invoicing, as we had our assistant in the facilities, as well as a new facilities director. That task is fallen on other people, including myself and other people within my department, to keep just the rental requests going. So now we're backlogged with invoices that we still have to send invoices out. So really, that's where that position is, and it would be self-funded from those rental rates. But that's also why those rental rates are extremely important.
If I can add to that real quick, and the other part is that proactive step in rentals. In the past, we've just passively gotten our rentals, but with our 2 open facilities, how can we go out there and actively advertise and get people that are interested and work with these vendors and work with these different youth groups or whatever to say, hey, we have space, we can rent with you, we can they can work on the agreement. So having someone dedicated to that, because we currently just do not. We just passively get renters.
So one question I have is the alternative school. We just eliminated a principal, right? And part of that whole premise of having the principal was...
There's not been any action taken.
Well, there hasn't been any action yet, but it's on this list. So we'll say it hasn't happened yet, but it's on the list. The whole premise was doing that was going after the 2.5 million. Is that right, Ryan? 2.5 million in earning students back that we lost?
It's the special one.
Right. So now are we scrapping that? What's the alternative plan if you're getting rid of the principal? And
No, Member Moore, and we sent out communication to the families affected. It's being split because there's definitely some distinct roles that have come out, and so we're just splitting the position. Again, it's part of the efficiency and trying to find ways. So it's going to be parts of different people's positions. Does that help?
are we just basically adding more responsibility on to different people?
Member Moore, it would be just like you say. It's time to think outside the box.
Yep, exactly.
To think different ways, and not just to affect those at the teaching level, but we always hear administratively, what can we do at the administrative level in order to think outside the box and have impact there as well. And this is definitely a move towards that, where we feel that we can take positions and we can move, whether it be people in the district office, whether it be a coordinator position, we can move them to take care of our student needs. And again, identifying, we have AOE and our dropout prevention there, but we also have our special education side there. As it's grown, which is tremendous that it's growing, it's time to look at how we split responsibility there.
Okay, just seemed interesting.
We're thinking outside the box for you.
Okay, outside the box, inside the box.
So we still have we don't have a principal there, but we do have the behavior specialists and all that are still currently doing that function at that school.
Yes, Member Fortney, we still have all of the staff supporting, and in fact, we will probably relocate some to office out of there as well so that they have more attention. So services will not change. In fact, they may be increased.
Okay. Any other questions?
No?
Okay. All in favor of 4.2, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Item 5.1, call to the public. According to ARS 38-431.01, a governing board may make an open call to the public during a public meeting, subject to reasonable time, place, and manner restrictions to allow individuals to address the governing board on any issue within the jurisdiction of the governing board. At the conclusion of an open call to the public, individual members of the governing board may respond to criticism made by those who have addressed the governing board, may ask staff to review a matter, or may ask that a matter be put on a future agenda. Members of the governing board shall not discuss or take legal action on matters raised during an open call to the public unless the matters are properly noticed for discussion and legal action. A speaker may offer criticism of school operations and programs that may concern them, but in public session, the board will not hear personal complaints about school personnel or complaints against any employee of the system. If any speaker does engage in personnel complaints, the speaker will be asked to take a seat and any remaining time will be forfeited. We ask the audience members to practice proper public meeting decorum, refraining from the use of speech or language that is offensive or inappropriate. Those that refuse to follow these rules may be asked to leave. And with that, we have one speaker, Carrie McCullough, and Carrie has 12 minutes.
I promise I won't take 12 minutes, but I didn't know how many speakers there were, so I wanted to make sure I had enough time. So good evening, Governing Board. Good evening, members of the Cabinet. Despite resigning from the district 2 years ago, I continue to receive phone calls from staff and community full of frustration for the same reasons I've heard for years. It's not my place to share their stories, but as an example, I want to paint a picture of mine. Dr. Jensen, do you remember a couple years ago, we had coffee being thrown at us? And we worked together in order to help resolve that situation with the student. Dr. Hendrickson, remember how we were running down one of our campuses as students were trying to escape into the parking lot? And as I was hugging that student, terrified that he almost got out, you were like, how did you run so fast in those heels? And Superintendent Dolezal, we used to go back and forth into each other's office asking for guidance all the time. And there were many times you saved me because I was trying to fill IEP roles when my supervisor was missing in action, and you would jump right in and help. We had a great relationship. After more than 20 years of exceptional evaluations, receiving every district award, some more than once, having my picture on the side of a bus and my name engraved in the back of this room, I found myself in a very toxic work environment with no support. I attempted to address concerns through the proper channels, but nothing changed. I was even told by my supervisor that if I spoke to any of the cabinet members, I would be written up. With no alternatives, I submitted a formal grievance. 12 pages of concerns with 32 emails supporting those concerns. At my grievance meeting, instead of constructive dialogue, I was asked to summarize my concerns into a sentence or two, which were quickly dismissed. While my previous supervisor was given what seemed like forever, the opportunity to share nothing of substance, but just attack my character. You might recall that one of the criticisms was that I don't like to hear the word no. No specific examples or details were provided, and no one questioned what was being said. At one point, I was told by a member of the cabinet that a principal came to them with concerns for my well-being, and instead of showing any empathy, I was told I needed to stop whining to other people. When I later asked for documentation supporting claims against me, I was told not to worry about anything because it was not going into my permanent file. The situation escalated to a point that my doctor placed me on medical leave. I requested a second grievance meeting with the superintendent, but was told that I needed to return to the same work environment for a week or two while something was scheduled. Ultimately, I resigned. I had hoped we could work through the differences, but it was obvious that nobody was listening. At no point was there any effort to resolve my concerns or share different perspectives, as I only had my own. Still today, I become physically ill when I'm in certain situations and when certain names come across my desk at work. But it didn't stop there. I later spoke with a member of the cabinet questioning whether I had been used as a scapegoat with a situation with a family. I was reassured that the information shared to me by the parent was 100% not true. Ironically, after that conversation, a district attorney contacted my current supervisor, asking him to hopefully keep me quiet. If the district had done nothing wrong, why was a district attorney contacting my current employer? A similar pattern occurred recently with my son's IEP not being followed. Initial conversations were productive, but once escalated to cabinet, progress stopped. I was forced to involve the state to ensure compliance. Administration did not take any responsibility and actually blamed the software program for most of the noncompliance. I was told by a cabinet member that the district did not want to set a precedent with my child, but if his IEP was implemented as written, there wouldn't have been a problem. In both situations, my concerns were supported by documentation, while the district provided little, if any. I've seen how egos get in the way when questions arise. Staff turnover continues, enrollment is falling, and communication remains closed. Just last week, I found out one of my son's teachers resigned, and I still haven't been notified by anybody at the school. My ask is that leadership listens with an open mind. We need to start looking more at conflict resolution and conflict engagement instead of just pushing things under the rug. I understand that I am not without fault. There are many things that I would have done differently while I was here. However, pointing a finger goes in two directions, and too often the one pointing backwards is ignored. Last month, I raised several concerns. I understand it's challenging to have a dialogue in these meetings, but I hope eventually I can receive some clarification on the following items. First, in September, a teacher started complaining about a smell at Sonoran Trails in the life skills classroom. It's improved temporarily because the doors are open and fans are on, but what happens when it heats up? What is the permanent solution? Second, it was stated that closing the two schools would save $2.6 million. Taking everything into consideration, what was really saved? And where is that money? Number 3, why is the staffing model at DSA based on student need while the rest of the district relies on numbers? Number 4, it's been stated that reducing student programs and special education staffing will provide economic relief, but is the long-term effects being considered? Are we actually looking at what all this means? Lastly, you can look at many different sorts of data, but we do have, in comparison to other districts, somewhat of the same administration staffing ratios. We are a bit higher. The problem isn't necessarily that we have excessive administration. The problem is the distribution is not proportionate. Some areas are overstaffed, while other areas are severely understaffed. How are these decisions being made, and how are we looking at student success? I look forward to hearing answers to some of these questions. Thank you.
Item 6.
Oh, question or task. Do we still have, we haven't resolved the issue at Sonoran Trails? With the smell?
Sorry, Member Moore. The Mark, our current facilities guy, is working. I have not heard. I know we actually invited the class to move in at an alternative location to which that was not desirable on the teacher's part. Dr. Plenek, I don't know if you have more information from Mark's work.
Yeah, our new facilities director has also contacted SFD to come out and look. He has had additional contractors from past what Mr. Santina had come out and look at the problem, and it appears to be with the piping. I can get more details for you, but Is there necessarily a short-term fix to this? The answer is no. We believe it's going to require construction.
Okay, so maybe the teacher doesn't get an option anymore. We move the kids out because we're just going to get more complaints.
Again, our
Trying to
facilities
understand that.
director has been in contact with the principal and notifying what, again, our past and now our current facilities director has notified and spoken with the principal about what the potential resolution is. And again, it seems that it is not an easy fix in any way, shape, or form that would require construction. And again, we're working with SFD on that.
Okay,
And we can get an update from him and put it in there for you.
that'd be helpful.
Okay.
And I can send that update to Mrs. McCullough as well.
That would be good. Thank you. Item 6, old business, there is none. Item 7.1, approval of medical benefits for 2026-27 school year. Dr. Hendrickson.
Yeah. President Greer, Governing Board. Administration recommends that the board approve the medical benefits for the 26-27 school year as presented.
Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I think so.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys are up for the discussion, but again, there's got to be some give and take in this whole thing. And I'm just trying to figure out where that bottom line is. And we're talking,
100 grand, 135, but that's
Yeah.
our current staffing model.
call it on a high side. It's 300 grand if you go all in and just go zero across the board. It's 266 if you find that middle ground. And again, at least for next year, we should do something in favor of the teachers because again, we're already. You can't just keep punching and expect.
And where, Dr. Pletnick, where would that money come from?
Well, we know where it's going to come from.
What we would be looking at is, again, depending upon our expenditures as we finish out the year and again, what cuts we've made, it would come from the carry forward or the savings from those cuts.
And what's the carry forward right now, or what were you projecting?
Let me bring up the budget. Give me 1 second.
So back to kind of members Walker's point, right now we funded at 660. If we funded at 699, which was the A plan, so your A plan would still be free, or go from paying 34 to being free, no contribution to the HSA. Your PPO goes up; it'll be at $26. I think it's currently 24, so it's a wash there. And then the C plan. Actually, because they go up proportionally differently, a free plan, and it's an HSA contribution of $708 annually. So total cost based on current people taking the plans would be about $135,252 annually.
And Member Fortney, I do not have my most updated budget sheet on here, so I would have to get that number to you based upon current enrollment and projections.
So currently we're tracking, give or take 3.8, right?
We are
And that includes.
in the bucket.
Yep.
Remember more in the bucket that this would come out of about $3 million.
It's going to come out at about 3, not 3.8. So you're about 3 million.
For M&O, if we're discussing M&O, and we're not talking grants, we're not talking any
No,
other
just straight.
funding.
Yeah. Play the.
Yep.
Don't play the.
Yep.
I hope I maybe might have. Because again, once you get to the real number, I'm assuming you're on the highest side of this. Even if let's just say you kept match. So you said, what is it, 2500?
Yep.
So if we just kept next year at that same level we are today, that impact's going to be probably less than the numbers that I have in front of me.
$135,000 at today's amount of people on there. So it's
Well,
probably less.
so it's going to be. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
it's going
it's
to
probably
be
closer to
less
100 grand.
again, and it's like a 1% raise. It's not much, but at least it's trying to say, hey,
Does IBN sit in any of these as far as input on what they want to do?
So when it comes to plan changes and things like that, that's where we have those conversations. During our IBN negotiations this year, because we did not have any money to give raises, where we would say, do you want a 2% raise or a 1% raise, and you reduce the cost of that. There was no money to be able to negotiate at that point. So specific with, obviously I think with any of our employee groups, part of the foundational request from teachers, classified administrators, is zero cost plans, no increase to medical. And so, yes, that is overwhelmingly a desire of all three of our IBN groups.
Do you have any idea with the surrounding districts, what they do with their benefit plan as far as how much they pay toward their employee cost?
I know in looking, so everyone will have a different employee cost and what they cover. And so some do the same thing where they have a free plan and then whatever the buy-up plan, like our bronze plan would be considered the buy-up plan. I know just looking at my wife's benefits in her district, they had a high deductible plan that saw a major decrease in actual HSA contributions. So that's where it was absorbed. So it's still free. You just don't get HSA contributions kind of thing. So they kind of work it in different ways. And then in districts that are self-funded, they can actually set the cost of each plan where we can't set the cost. The costs are set for us by our pool. And so they can change where they say, the employer will be free, adding a spouse, we're going to increase only if you add a spouse. And that way the employer, the majority of the people that are taking it is just the employee. We want to make sure we protect them. So they have that flexibility in those self-funded plans.
Okay. Are there a lot of dependents that are on one of our plans?
No, there's not a lot. I can put in our weekly update, but there's not a lot that do the dependent coverage.
Okay.
So if they do, it's usually just like the dental or vision they'll pick up, not the major medical.
Okay.
So
Any other questions?
So what are you looking for? What are you thinking that are we talking about that you're questioning, amending this to increase?
Amending it to keeping it potentially the same as we had this year, which was the 2500. Is that right?
correct.
For next year, why we kind of, we can cut, again, this is here where we're making this on 3 million. So
Some grand.
a little bit of wiggle room in that.
Well, but remember, that's in anticipation of our revenue control limit being that much lower next year as well.
Correct. Yeah, I know. I need more numbers. That's my fundamental problems.
So I would say if you would want to recommend that with the district funds at $699 for all plans, that would keep us at the 2500. In order for us to move into open enrollment, which we plan to begin April 20th, I believe, we need some lead time to be able to get an approval, get the upload into our system, get the plan rates out to our employees. So, but based on my calculations, it's 100 at max. If no other people come on, and knowing that we are lower numbers, it's about 135,000 annually to the district.
What's the tipping point on that budget, Ryan?
Again, I will not give you a tipping point right off the cuff. I would say we run our projections on our current enrollment again, and then we would have to run with the potential budget cuts, which we calculated today, those numbers, and see what we're going to project out. This is not a decision that's going to be made with a snap of a finger, remember more.
Yeah, I know. But there's a balancing act.
I mean, if you're looking at, again, $160,000, you're talking 2 positions worth. And just putting it in that thought process. So, again, the worry I have, and again, we can look at the numbers, but the worry I have is the more you kick the can down the road, and the more you're going to have to cut later. Again, if we look at our current staffing, and yes, RIFs, we are terrible. Like, my wife and I in this district were through 2 rounds of them back in the early 2000s. But like getting our staffing in line, we're seeing a greater impact this year than if we would have gotten some of it in line last year, some of it in line this year, and making those decisions. So certainly we can make it work, but again, the more you need to carry forward, the less you have moving forward. So it's a trade-off.
It's always a trade-off.
Now we're later.
Well, and that's the bigger concern is, so we're talking about $100 and some odd thousand, and we're still talking about we're not out of the woods. So what do we cut next year?
Again, if we look back at my presentation a few months ago, we saw the district spend $32 million, $32 million, $32 million, $32 million, and revenue control limit in each one of those years was never $32 million. So when you rob Peter to pay Paul, someday the bill's going to come due.
Yep.
And unfortunately, what we're dealing with right now is the fact that we were spending at a level of $32 million, moving all of our capital over in order to keep that spending level. So we can continue to put things on the credit cards, essentially, or we can, again, right-siding the ship is not easy. If we take baby steps, you don't feel the pain as much. But unfortunately, the baby steps go away once your revenue control limit is only $28 million and you're spending at $32 million. That's a $4 million cut in a year. So allowing expenditures past that, you're borrowing money from somewhere else. And again, now that's the decision that this board needs to come up with. Now I can run projections for you. I can look at what cuts we've made. I can estimate what our expenditures are going to be by the end of August, but all of those pieces have to be taken in consideration. And when we plan for staffing, when we plan for all of these pieces, these are things that typically would happen in the first semester of the school year.
And when do we typically start prepping the budget for next year? I mean, that's the end of this month or beginning of May?
A budget revision is coming up in May. The prepping for
FY
next year's
27
budget started in November.
Right.
But I think the bigger issue is we don't have a bond or an override, and the state isn't set up to fully fund a school district. So I understand that. It's like, oh, you're paying the credit card deal, but it's not really that way where all of our neighbors have the bond and override, because that's actually how the state sets up our budget to operate. Because right now, what we
Right, they
receive
did-
from the state isn't to fully fund.
Right. They set it up where you really need to pass bonds and overrides.
Yeah.
And
Correct.
I think we've seen this affect Member Walker to the T. Look at
Yeah.
Deer Valley. Deer Valley and the cuts they were making, then the override just passed this year. And again, I'm in talking with other CFOs, assistant soups of fiscal and business ops, and seeing which of those districts are offering potential raises, which ones are offering zero. It's an amazing correlation between a bond and override in that.
Yep.
I understand where you're coming from. We need the desire to offer something to the teachers. That I understand. But, as I sit here and thinking about the entire picture, one of the things that this board has said is that, the decisions that we make today, we really need to look down the road to see how it's going to impact us, not just today, but going forward. And, it's funny that you use the term robbing Peter to pay Paul, because that's exactly what I was thinking. In the really big picture, as an employer, we're very fortunate that we as a district can afford to cover the cost of any benefit plan as it is, because in general, in the business world, that's not a common thing anymore. And I understand, you know, a teacher's salary isn't what it is in corporate America.
Exactly.
But at the same time, we're looking at everything across the board. You know, there's got to be give and take. You know, we're still offering a benefit plan. It may not be the richest benefit plan, but we are offering a benefit plan where we're covering 100% of the cost. That's, you know, where I now struggle. Well, it's not what it was last year. Where do we stop with that? Because the next year, there's no guarantee we're going to have less than a 6% renewal. So next year, when this same conversation comes up, what do? Oh, well, you know, we paid $6.99 or whatever the suggested amount is. Then we have to keep adjusting upwards, and we've done nothing to rein that cost in.
I think my only concern was we also had like that one-time stipend that they had, so that goes away.
Correct,
And
yes.
there's like, and now you have to also pay an increase on your health benefits. That's the only.
No, I understand that. You know, the situation that we're in is not a surprise. I mean, across the district, every employee knows that financially we've got to tighten the belt. And if we don't take prudent steps along the way, you know, a couple of years down the road, we're going to be in worse shape. And it all adds up, because, and especially with the benefit plan, because that's one that you can definitely count on increasing. And next year, it might be 18% increase.
Yeah, and that's one of a couple of things, President Greer, to tack onto that. You know, other problem is we don't get our rates till March 1st. We have a very little time frame to then get the rates, look at budget, be able to navigate from there. You know, it's one of those things that, you know, we've started already having conversations with our current insurance provider. Do we go out for bids, and do we look at the market again and try to see who can provide something better for us? Problem with that, in order for them to get business, if we move to a company like Kairos, they drop our rates the first year. We feel really good, and then they quickly jump back up to past what we would have been. So, it's all, you're right, it's all a risk, and we know that cost of inflation and that increase is not going to help us, you know, maintain raises and covering medical. So,
President Greer, one other thing I'd like to add that we've discussed during IBN, because we've been operating under the idea that there's zero money to negotiate with. And I do think it's important that if this board wanted to say that they're going to designate $150,000, $300,000, you name the amount, to negotiate with, that might be something we could discuss during IBN to see how best to allocate that, because I'm not sure if there is still a free option. And so I do know that was actually what the IBN members vote, or the teachers voted, is that they wanted a free option. It wasn't that all of the options would be free. And so that might be something, again, I'm not saying, we've been operating under a zero-sum game, that the only thing we're really discussing is working conditions. If we're going to say that we'd like to go dip into our money, $300,000 worth, I do feel like that would be a conversation worth having with our employees so that they can share their input on that. Just my 2 cents there.
Well, I definitely think that's fair. At the end, I'm just trying to look at the best interest of the fact of it could be perceived as a pay cut.
absolutely, yeah. And I think we would all feel it that way. I would agree with you, Member Moore.
So if we're looking at pay cuts, let's, you know, look at pay cuts.
And I quickly brought up a couple of the state reports. If we add up, without our carry forward, if we just get our one-time little payments of state aid, free and reduced one-time payments. We moved the $1.23 million over from capital. On our latest Budget 25 report, which is from the states, our student funding was $26,365,705. When you add it all together, it is 27.99 or $28 million is what, if we're spending within our means. That's what our paycheck was per the state on that report. Right now, I'm telling you, we're at 28.3 million, and we're at, if we keep it in check, which my hope was, we stay at 28.8 million. Okay, if you look at last year, we spent just under $31 million in expenditures. So I hear also, where was this $2.6 million? Well, there you are. So we went from, 30.5 million, a little over 30.5 million. Now we're on track for 28 million, 28.4 right now, 28.8 by the end. That is what we're doing. We are reducing costs. If we're at 27.99 million, we're still dipping into the piggy bank with moving capital over. Assuming our enrollment is in decline once again, that is going to put us somewhere in that $26 million range. So if we're at 28.8 million this year, and we keep spending on that, next year, if we are 26.8 million, that's another 2 million to cut. As Superintendent Dolezal says, every 100 students equates to
200 is $1 million.
That's kindergartners.
Mm-hmm.
That's seniors to
Seniors to
kindergarten.
kindergarters every year.
Yep.
It's 2 million.
So that is, and that's not a trend that's changing. If you see it, that is that same trend. So that's why I'm saying decisions now, that 100,000 may be 100,000 you have to cut it in addition next year. And at some point, and Member Fortney, we had $3.7 million in carry forward. So if you think we're spending about $800,000, $700,000, $800,000 over what the state provided us, we're about $3 million carry forward. So that's what you're playing with, and that's what you're eating into. And so that becomes the question, is how long is that $3 million going to last until spending is brought in line with state funding? And Member Walker, you said it perfectly. Like, the system isn't meant for us to win, especially without a bond or an override. Override in this case. But those are the numbers you're dealing with.
Just as a little side note, there was the brief discussion about the smell at Sonoran Trails, and you mentioned that the fix for that might end up being construction, which is going to come out of where?
Capital.
Well, we're trying to go to SFD,
I understand that.
but otherwise it's capital.
I was going to say, you got a lot of tickets in
So
with them.
I hit to the bottom line.
I know, the fuel tank, the roof, the this, the chiller.
Exactly, and so.
I 100% hear you.
There's a lot on the horizon that,
100%.
more money we spend now, and it's going to be a bigger problem down the road.
Hey, I heard it.
Okay, so are you
Hey, cuts
amending
are
a
cool.
motion? Are we,
Leave it as is.
leave it as is? Any other comments?
Just to be clear, there is still one
Free option.
free option.
Yes.
So if we fund it at the same level, which is $660, then there is a free option, and that plan gets $240 over the course of the year into an HSA. Correct.
Provided everybody goes to that plan.
I'm sorry?
Provided everybody goes to that plan, because the numbers aren't.
No, we don't need everyone to go to that plan, because if whatever plan you're on, you buy up for the next one. So the bronze is what most people take. It's $725 next year. So we fund it at $660.
Correct.
That employee pays the difference, the
Pays the 40
$65.
Yeah,
But you
65.
can't switch which plan you're in?
Yes, you can. So
Oh,
as we
okay.
open
Yeah.
open enrollment here in a
Yeah.
couple weeks, employees can switch plans that they would like. Yep.
Okay.
The goal is to move them down to that plan.
Right.
Well, if they're going to pay the difference, it doesn't make
It's up to
any
you. No,
difference
100%.
to the district.
So,
So if they take the richest benefit plan, we're still paying $660.
I hear
And that's where, you know, they work with our employees, say, you know, hey, let's look at your claims from last year. Let's look at the plan you were currently on. Were you paying more on that plan as a result, or would you have been paying less out of pocket on another plan? So part of that is that continued education with them, because a lot of times if you have, you know, a lot of teachers are young, straight out of college and single, and so therefore that free plan works for them. They don't have a lot of medical expenses, so a lot of it is just educating them on that. So.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay. All in favor of the medical benefits for 2026-27 as presented, say aye.
Aye.
And,
Okay.
okay,
3-2.
3-2. All right. All right, item 7.2, to consider, discuss, amend, if desired, and if deemed advisable, to adopt a resolution ordering and calling a special election to be held in and for the district and authorizing the sale, lease, or exchange of district property. Mr. Dolezal.
President Greer, administration recommends that the board adopt a resolution ordering the calling a special election to be held in and for the district, authorizing the sale, lease, or exchange of district property.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor,
Oh.
say aye.
Oh, maybe just to let public know that this just allows us to go for a vote for it. It is not putting it up for sale or putting it up for lease. This is to go for a vote in case we ever did want to do those things.
Member Walker, that's a great point. I mean, the biggest point to get out absolutely is that the election isn't locking the district into any course of action. It's just giving this board or a future board the flexibility to sell, lease, or exchange the school site down the road. The ability to sell or exchange doesn't expire at this current moment under the current law. Right now, the ability to lease is a 20-year window. But again, this is nothing other than providing flexibility and the option to look at the potential sale, lease, or exchange of property on the ballot.
Okay, good point. Any comments? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, 7.3, action to designate a representative or multiple representatives for negotiation, settlement discussions, contract discussions, and in Apache Junction versus East Valley Institute of Technology. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Well, sorry. Thank you, Member President Busby. Administration recommends the board designate myself, Dr. Pletnick, and Mrs. Aaron Scher as representatives for negotiations, settlement discussions, and contract discussions in Apache Junction et al. Versus East Valley Institute of Technology.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay. Okay, 4-1. 7.4, action to confirm direction given in executive session to the board's designated representatives for purposes of negotiation, settlement discussion, contract discussions, and in Apache Junction versus East Valley Institute of Technology.
President Greer, administration recommends the board confirm the direction given to the representatives for the purpose of negotiation, settlement discussions, and contract discussions in the Apache Junction et al. Versus East Valley Institute of Technology.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
It still means that IG has to come to the board for vote, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Yeah, this does not, while the agent can act, but ultimately it is board approval for the IGA.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Item 8, upcoming calendar events. Mr. Dolezal.
President Busby, members of the board, April 21st, we've got a One Voice concerts at 6:30 at Cactus Shadows. April 22nd, we have the CCUSD Inspire Excellence Awards at 6 p.m. at the Fine Arts Center. May 2nd is Rock the District, 6 p.m. at Harold's Cafe, or at Harold's Cave Creek Corral. And just a reminder for everybody, May 4th through 8 is Teacher Appreciation Week.
Okay. Item 9, adjournment. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we are adjourned, and it is 7:53.